Hello, welcome to the Analyst Inside Cricket with me, Simon Hughes.
Me, Simon Mann.
And you, Deep Dasgupta, the former Indian batsman and commentator. Deep is joining us again, no doubt in high spirits after what seems to have been, Deep, an almost preordained victory for India in the T20 World Cup final. We predicted they would win it at the start, all of us, and surely they did. But maybe you'd be surprised by the margin of victory in the end, 98 runs, and even 98 runs perhaps didn't really tell the whole story.
Yeah, that's so true. I think lived up to the expectation, the image that this Indian team had created for themselves, as in playing that fearless, way of playing this format. So yeah, I think just lived up to that expectation, and they had saved the best for the last. I think this was the near perfect game that India would have wanted to play. So couldn't have asked for more. I mean, starting from ball one till the last ball of the match, it was domination by the Indian side.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, it took 3 overs, I suppose, Simon, for you to send me a message saying India have won. They were actually, 51 after 4 overs and 72 after 5 overs. The first 2 overs went quite well for New Zealand.
Yeah.
And then,
it was 12 for no wicket after 2, 27 for no wicket after 3, and then it just accelerated beyond New Zealand's control. So I sent you a message the other day, after 19 minutes of England against India, saying this game is over. That was probably a little bit pessimistic, but you could just see which way it was going. Today I waited 28 minutes into the match.
So you actually timed yourself.
Yeah, only because I've got it on my WhatsApp, what time I sent the message. And actually, probably the game started a couple of minutes late because of all the before the game as well. So it felt over after about, 25 minutes. When India were 51 for no wicket after 4, 72 for no wicket after 5, I thought they're going to get a massive score here. And it's going to be like the other day where England sort of managed to just kind of hold on to them, even though I actually didn't feel that realistically there was any particular point in the game when England were going to chase it, because I just thought the tide was just a bit too high for them. Well, though they played, and well, though Jacob Bethel played the other day, but this was just it was just an exhibition match, day out for 100,000 people. Even then, in the second innings, then there wasn't much tension in the game. There wasn't a huge amount of noise in the stadium. It's kind of strange atmosphere actually. Well played India. We thought they were the strongest side. And they came through 1 or 2 testing moments, but they showed the world that, especially in their own backyard, it's pretty difficult to compete with them. They were excellent at the bat, and they did actually what was required with the ball and in the field as well. They caught some good catches, and they got Bumrah. He's absolutely the master. 4 for 15. Brilliant.
As I said the other day, I'd try and sort of support New Zealand just as a sort of impartial in a way today, as a non-Indian or New Zealander. I thought, well, I'll just go with New Zealand, only because partly I've got this T-shirt here, which has got sort of New Zealand phrases on it, some familiar things like flush and chips and, bro and all that. But one phrase I really like that New Zealanders use a lot is sucking on the kumara. The kumara is a very nasty tasting fruit that's sort of quite sour. And if you suck on it, it gives you a nasty sort of experience, especially if it's not cooked. It means when you say, if they suck on the kumara, mate, it means you've had a bad day. And that really was a bad day for New Zealand today, starting with actually, was it a mistake to decide to field first, perhaps, Deep?
Personally, I was a little surprised when they decided to. I do understand them chasing down in the semi-finals against South Africa, but that was basically one guy, right? Finn Allen just going berserk, and obviously Tim Safford. But in a big
and also
game,
Dew also having an impact at Calcutta as well. Yeah.
Yes, that's a very fair point.
Second.
No, that's a very fair point, because I know for a fact in Ahmedabad they've got these machines which sprays on the ground, and machines which are really close to the grass. So usually you see a lot of these anti-dew sprays, the chemical, they sprayed with like quite a distance, and then you're supposed not to, I mean, you're not supposed to walk on the grass for 48 hours or something on those lines. But I know at least couple of these venues, Guwahati is the other one if I'm not wrong, was they've got these big machines to dispose of this chemical extremely close to the grass. The layer of that chemical falls on the grass. So dew was always, I mean, it's a challenge this time of the year in the subcontinent, but it was always going to be managed properly at this venue, I thought. Secondly, for someone like India, it is exactly what you want to go out there, bat freely, bat first, and kind of on a good batting surface, try and get that 200, 220, 230, and bat the opposition out of the game. And in a final chasing, I always think in a big game, and it's not just me, it's a very old school of thought which says big games you bat first because chasing, the scoreboard has its own pressure. Add another 15,
Mm.
20 odd runs to the score when you're chasing in big games, knockout games, and this we're talking about the final. So I was a little bit surprised when they chose to field. I was on a show and I was like, yeah, as an Indian, I don't mind that at all. I mean, I don't care who wins the toss as long as India is batting first, and that's what happened.
Mm.
They certainly punished New Zealand's bowling, didn't they? I mean, Lockie Ferguson had a particularly day. He went for 48 from his 2 overs, so 2 lots of 24. You had an observation about Lockie Ferguson, didn't you, Yoz, that he used lots of slower balls, but actually he's got some pace.
Well, yeah, I think Simon Doull made a very good point on the commentary today. Actually, the former New Zealander who said, or former New Zealand player rather, still is a New Zealander, was saying that what you do is you can end up being too married to the data and to the stats and to the analysis, and clearly part of their analysis was saying, don't put pace on the ball because that's what the Indians love. So, bowl slower balls. But I think, and this is one thing that I think Bumrah has really applied, bowl your best ball as much as you can. And the best ball for Matt Henry is that nip backer on a length, which has knocked over a couple of top order players and is just so difficult to play at about 82 miles an hour. Lockie Ferguson, he got Joss Butler out, didn't he, in an earlier game, with a really good short ball, which just flew through and took the edge of Butler. But they both insisted on, after Henry bowled 1 over in the power play, which was a good over, and he bowled, pretty much on a length, and the only ball he bowled was a bit short. Samson pulled for 4. Or maybe he pulled it for 6, actually, but it was an incredible shot. But actually, Henry's first over was really good. But interestingly, I noticed, and we'll talk about Samson a bit more in due course, but I noticed Samson moving around in his crease quite a bit, staying back 1 ball, moving out of his crease the next ball, just to upset the bowler's length. And Henry did drop 1 short and Samson pulled it away, but it was still a good over. But then both he and Lockie Ferguson resorted to these slower balls. They didn't bowl Henry a second over when they should have done. And he then came back when the floodgates had already opened. Yeah. And by then he was trying to bowl slower ball wides and, wide balls and stuff. And they just lost any kind of grip, control they had after those first 2 overs, really, didn't they?
Yeah, I thought as much. And I had the same thought in terms of why not get Matt Henry, because I think there were 4 different bowlers bowling the first 4 overs. Why not get Matt Henry to bowl the second over of his spell as well? Not wait for Matt Henry, because the other important thing is teams when you're playing against team like in India, you've got to keep picking wickets because everyone's going to come in and play their shots. It's like very much like playing against England, because the only way to stop teams like India, England is to pick wickets. If you're not picking wickets, you can't keep these batters quiet. If you think you're going to get away bowling a tidy over, 7 over, 6 over, and get away with it, you will not. Somebody is going to pay for it, and you will as well in your second spell or next over will pay for it. And that's where I thought the other important, the slower thing. I know against Abhishek, there is this whole school of thought which says he struggles against the slower delivery, right? Because of his bat swing, he's got a very high bat cliff, and he's going to struggle and all. I know he's got out in Australia when India went there to play the white ball series a few months ago. But that doesn't, I don't think the sample size is big enough to suggest that that's something that you would want to bowl regularly against him. And I completely agree that they tried it a little too much. It started having its own effect once the ball got older. Then the slow one obviously started
Yeah.
gripping a little bit. But with the
Yes.
new ball, and again something that you would be able to address as well. I always felt slow ball, unless it's a very good one, back of the hand kind of a thing. With a new ball, it's like a spinner bowling, right? It skids on to the bat better.
Mm,
Once it
yeah.
gets older and scruffed up, it starts gripping. So with a new ball bowling a slower, I don't know whether that's a great idea on a flat surface.
I completely agree. And actually, what Bumrah did well, talking of slower balls, is when he bowled his, it was, a bit later in the innings where, they could grip. But also, his slower ball, I think, is his best ball now. I mean, all right, he's got a great, outswinger and in-swinger, and he can generate great pace. But that slower ball is as good as anyone's ever had in the game. And I played against somebody called Franklin Stevenson, who played for West Indies and Nottinghamshire and a bit for Sussex in the 1980s and early 90s, a West Indian, fantastic fast bowler who had probably the best slower ball there's ever been. And he had a really kind of complicated action where his arms sort of
Mm.
crossed over each other. And so the slower ball you just couldn't see at all. And people would duck and be hit on the foot and all that. And he was a brilliant bowler of the slower ball. But since him, I reckon Bumrah's is the next best. And it's because the arm comes over at the same speed and he imparts that side spin on the ball. And in fact, you can almost see, I slowed down his action today in a moment where, obviously I was a bit bored. And I could see actually that he changes his grip as his hand draws back into his delivery swing. You can just see him change his grip slightly. And the thumb that normally sits under the seam comes onto the side of the ball. And it enables him then with his two fingers and his thumb together to sort of impart this off spin, off cut on the ball, which kind of almost undercuts it, and it makes the ball sort of loop out and then dip. And nobody can play it, can they? I mean, even good players, Santner, just completely foxed by it, wasn't it? It's an amazing ball. So he used those sort of later in the innings where if it was needed to grip on that pitch, it would. But early on, I totally agree with you. Slower balls just slide onto that, just gives the batsman a bit more time to pick his spot. Unless you've got that incredible deception.
Yeah, I mean, the other one, in this World Cup, who bowled really well, the slow delivery was Lungi Ngidi, right?
Yeah.
And the common thing which I believe between Lungi and Bumrah is they use their wrist. So once you use your wrist, it comes out a little later than what you're expecting as a batter. It's like Moeen Ali. If you see Moeen bowling, he uses, apart from his fingers, he actually uses his wrist quite a bit as well. So it comes a little loopy as well. So it's not flat. The trajectory is not flat out of the hand. It is a little loopy. And if you see both Lungi Ngidi and Jasprit Bumrah, I thought Lungi Ngidi bowled beautifully this World Cup as well, especially the slower ones. He too was using his wrist. So he's got that loop as well. Both of these guys have a loop to their slow deliveries.
Yeah, they're definitely. Yeah, I mean, brilliant. Anyway, I mean, so we were talking about the Indian innings there. So 51 off the first 4 overs, 72 off 5, 92 for none off the power play. I mean, just astonishing. The onslaught, and the ball just kept sailing. I think they hit 18 sixes in the innings. I mean, it was just one-way traffic, wasn't it, Simon? I mean, it was just the floodgates. It was just wherever they tried to hit. Obviously, Abhishek got out in the end, but then Ishan Kishan came in and flayed them all over the place, hit monstrous shots over long on a mid-wicket. And obviously, Samson, we haven't mentioned him. I'll talk about him in a bit. But, I mean, Samson just sort of stroked it around with ease, didn't he? Quite a sort of, I thought, a really intelligent innings, actually, because he did hit some fantastic pull shots off slightly short balls, but then he caressed it through the offside and, hit some over the top of off and actually glided 1 for 4 from Lockie Ferguson, a lovely little steer shot. I mean, it was exquisite innings, that, Simon, really.
Beautiful. And Abhishek came to the party, didn't he, with his half century? What was it? An 18-ball half century. I was actually looking at it, I was thinking, these boundaries, are they actually small, or are they just making them look small? There was one point, they were just sailing over the whole time. You thought, these boundaries, they look about 40 or 50 meters. It looked like not playing in Ahmedabad, but at Eden Park in Auckland, where we've seen, big matches in semi-final, actually, back in the 2015 World Cup, where Grant Elliott hit a 6 off Dale Steyn to win the game right at the end. Just felt the boundaries were just too small for the occasion. But it's sensational batting, and they do just keep coming at you. Even they could even survive an over of 3 for 1. Jimmy Neesham get 3 wickets in an over at one point. They still got to 55, and there was Dubé at the end as well. Playing his part, his cameo with that 8 ball 26, and that just gave India that sort of kick as well. And for New Zealand, it must have been like a kick in the face, actually, because they're thinking, hold on a second, we might be able to keep this to like 230. It might be chaseable, but suddenly it was bigger than England. It actually was a bit like the game against England the other day. I mean, so much so that Sanju Samson made 89 again. So he made 89 off 46 today. It was 89 off 42 the other day. Yeah, one wonderful play from him. And you think of India under pressure in this tournament, because they basically had 3 knockout games, and Samson got 89 and 89 in those 3 matches. Deservedly, I think, the player of the tournament. Although Bumrah was pretty good as well, leading wicket taker, and also miserly. His economy rate was well under 6.21. That's just fabulous. But it's very difficult to. I was trying to think about what could New Zealand have done, and I think the only thing they could have done was, I don't know, locked all the Indian players in a cupboard before the game or something. Prevented them going out.
Well, my idea was the other day about getting a board up outside the boundary, and you can catch it off that if you hit a 6. I was extending that to just pick very tall fielders. And even maybe on some of these small grounds, you put little trampolines by the boundary, and the fielder is allowed to jump off it to jump a bit higher. So many of our listeners and viewers may not be that familiar with the name Sanju Samson. I mean, if you're an IPL follower, I'm sure you would be. But if you're not, he hasn't really toured England, or he hasn't made any kind of impact in English cricket on tours or whatever. But he has been a fixture for the Rajasthan Royals for some years now, and of course has been captain there, and he's been in and out of the Indian team as well, the Indian one-day side. And I just thought, I know my good friend in the game, Zubin Barucha, who's the sort of coach and mentor of many of the Rajasthan Royals players over the years. He's been there since right at the start of the IPL in 2008, and has mentored players like Yashasvi Jaiswal and the young 14-year-old, now 15-year-old Suryavanshi, and he's worked with Sanju Samson for a long time. And so I asked him about his sort of journey and what makes him special, because he's played 3 wonderful innings in the last 3 games. So I'm just going to read you what Zubin said, actually, because it's quite interesting and bit of a conversational point. He says, the first time I saw him, he was 17 years old. We were in Jaipur, and he just proceeded to smash bowlers straight out of the park. My first thought was simple. This looks incredibly special. But it wasn't the power that struck me. It was something far more specific, the way the ball left the bat. This is a deep cricketing thing, the kind that's hard to explain to someone who hasn't played inside the game. The sound a ball makes when it's hit, the way it projects itself forward. Few people have this kind of timing, that fluid, almost effortless backlift that allows them to do it. It's a rare gift. And Sanju possessed it as a teenager. What I came to understand is, with years of working in, that a backlift isn't just a technical choice. It's in your DNA. It's linked to something called depth perception. I mean, that's a bit technical. How you perceive an object coming towards you and how your body automatically moves the batting response. I suppose it's really a bit like kind of natural ability in a way. I suppose this is a sort of more precise description of natural ability. That movement, that precise placement, placing your bat, that movement, that precise place your bat travels to is set from childhood. You can try and change for the rest of your career, but it doesn't necessarily work. And he says Sanju's DNA was that beautiful, tall, long backlift, because his back goes right up like Lara, the kind shared by some of the greatest players the game has ever seen. As a coach, your one job when you find something like that is to preserve it, to make sure nobody, including the player himself, tampers with it. It's quite interesting. And when you watch him hit the ball, you can see what he means, that sort of lovely high pick up, and then that flow through the ball, which it's not a bludgeon, is it? It's almost a caress of the ball in a way. A bit like, I mean, I equate him a little bit like sort of Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma has that slightly sort of elegant grace of the way he hits the ball.
So okay, so if you, from a batting perspective, so you got what we call the hand-hip separation, right? So when your foot is going forward, your bat's going up, right? So what happens is when your bat swing, when the bat starts coming down, you're already in your base. So you get that power behind the ball as well. So you see a lot of batters, their bat swing, downswing, and their foot move at the same time. That's where you don't get the power, you don't get that ping of the bat, right? But if your downswing starts or rather before the downswing starts, if your front foot or your base is set, that's when you get that power, and that's where you get that ping of the bat. So some people, that's natural. It's very difficult because as a coach, I try. I mean, there are drills to do that, but then it is something that you want from the batters, and especially batters. When we talk about, look at any batter, you'd see their downswing before their downswing start. Their footwork is there, their base is set, right? So then they just swing the bat. They don't have to do anything else. So there are no moving parts apart from their hands. So that's the hand and hip separation or leg separation. And some people like Sanju got it naturally. It had happens naturally for them. And I first saw him was India under 19. I think it's 2014 or something. And I heard that year I was covering a domestic game between Kerala, his state side, and I think it was Karnataka. There was a game. I was doing domestic cricket covering that. And we all had heard of him because by then he had already played IPL. He played a couple of innings and all. So you knew since he was 17, 18, you know when a kid is coming through, for example, let's say in England, Thomas Rue, he hasn't played international cricket, but he's coming through the ranks, right? So you knew that someone like him is coming through. And then he made quite early, I think he made his India debut 2015, 16. It was pretty early at 2021. But then the big challenge that with him was being a little more consistent. So in an IPL, he'll play 2 innings out of 14, absolutely brilliant, like a dream. But then 1 innings and then 7, 8 failures. So it was quite frustrating when you see a talent like that. It is frustrating not to see him do as well as you expect him to. But now with this form that he's got, I mean, this is incredible. 3 back-to-back big scores under pressure and the calmness while he's batting. I mean, just imagine if I mean, I was thinking on those lines, if I'm the next batter in and I see Sanju batting like that effortlessly and so calmly, and it's infectious, right? It's infectious on the batters coming after him.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, that's all right. I mean, yeah, Ferguson's bowling at 146, but he's going at 156 off the bat. So you just feel very, very different sitting outside watching him bat.
That's a very good point, and I suppose it's what sort of hampered England a bit in this tournament was, the batters that opened. I mean, especially Butler, but even Salt actually made it look difficult, and that didn't help. I mean, obviously it didn't affect Bethel because he played that beautiful innings in the semi-final. But I just think you're right. It sets a tone, doesn't it? When you see how the openers, I think it's why opening batters are so important in all formats because they do set the tone. If you see opening batters in a Test match, really struggling, that sends sort of nervousness through. If you see them, knocking it around and laying a great platform, obviously it calms the dressing room immensely. So just seeing the ease with which he hit the ball was wonderful. Listen, let's take a quick break because I've got some more stuff from Zubin to talk about, which is related to why Sanju was able to perform in these 3 games. So the other thing that Zubin said, and this picks up on what you were saying, Deep, just before about how he was able to deliver, Sanju Samson was able to deliver these innings in these big games, these 3 big games. He says the preparation that Sanju brings to his batting is exhaustive in a way that often goes unseen. High variability practice, he said, that's the phrase I use, multiple surfaces, multiple bowlers, sidearms, that's the dog thrower, different types of deliveries, different balls, different bats. The idea is to make sure that when you walk out to bat in a high pressure situation, there is no ball that can come at you that you haven't already faced in practice. I mean, it sounds obvious, but I think Indian players probably have more scope and kind of desire to do this perhaps than other players in other countries. He said, you've already been there because you've practiced against all these deliveries, you've already solved it. And he said, it then means it's the mental job when the moment comes is not to rise to the occasion. That language, rising to the occasion, is actually the wrong way to think about it. We always said, go down to the level of your practice, not up to some imagined peak, down to what you've already done thousands of times. The practice is the peak. The game is just execution. I mean, it's quite an interesting way of looking at how you prepare. And I mean, obviously, the evidence is in the results in the end. But if you have a terrible time, then you go back to sort of practicing a different way. But he just says that the way that Indian, particularly Sanju, practices, and some of the other players that Zubin's looked after as well, is very rigorous, and it almost takes a sort of the nerves and the kind of apprehension out of a big occasion. Then just to Deep, can you kind of elaborate on that a bit? The opportunity that Indian batters have to practice. And I heard the other day Harsha Bhogle actually talking about the desire that young Indian batters or players have, because there's so much to lose if they fail, and therefore there's this incredible appetite for preparation, practice, the work ethic, which perhaps most other country players don't have, international players don't have.
Honestly, I don't think desire is the right word. I think I've seen enough kids in England with the same amount of desire, but do you have the opportunity? I think that's the big question. Now, for example, if I have to practice here, I have to, at this point in time, in the year rather, I'll have to book an indoor, I'll have to get bowlers, or I'll have to get a bowling machine. But there are academies almost every locality in India where you can just go, there are open nets, you just get 2-3 guys and you bat, right? So I think the word desire is unfair. It is unfair on guys who doesn't have the opportunity. I know enough and more kids in this country who would love to, if get an opportunity to go and practice and bat for 7 hours, 8 hours a day. But then unfortunately, it's not there. There is a lot of things, a lot of hoops you've got to jump through to actually get there. For example, yesterday, I know this kid who said, the season's coming up, can you spend an hour? I was like, yeah, okay. Couldn't find a lane near my place. So unfortunately, even though he wanted to, but he couldn't. So to use the word desire, I think it's harsh and it's unfair.
Fair enough. Okay. You put it in a good context there. I mean, certainly, the way Sanju Samson hits the ball is pretty unique. The way that the sound it makes off the bat. And I mean, Zubin finishes off by saying here, the ball doesn't leave the bat, his bat, in the way it does for most people. It leaves the bat the same way as it does for Sachin Tendulkar, for Rohit Sharma, and for Brian Lara, a sound, and then the ball is gone. And I mean, he certainly did that a lot today. And, one other little tiny thing about Sanju, very religious man, comes from Kerala. His father runs a church, and Sanju himself is someone who gives so much to the local community, tries to make sure people are well housed, and he cares more about the lifestyle of the people where he grew up in a way than his success as a cricketer. And I just recorded a bit of his interview after the match today when Ian Bishop interviewed him post him getting Man of the Series, Man of the Tournament award, and you can just hear the gentle, kind of almost thankful behaviour, kind of approach he has to life and cricket in general.
So one is he got this opportunity. That's one. Secondly, I think what happened with him, let's say against New Zealand, the bilateral series, he was the first choice opener for India, right? So him and Abhishek were the opening pair, and they've done all right last 6 months to a year. South Africa won the series and all of that. Australia did well, but then he got 5 innings. He did nothing, right? And we're talking about last
Yeah.
month here. And then suddenly you had to change that opening pair and say, you know what, Ishan Kishan comes in because he had a brilliant series against New Zealand. So suddenly you had Ishan Kishan and Abhishek Sharma opening the innings because then Tilak at 3 and all of that. So they didn't want to mess around with number 3 and number 4. And then obviously, I don't know, there was some switch or something which has happened in his head where he's just come back and he's looked matured, he's looked calmer while he's batting. So if you look at his first 6 overs, he's went all out, right, with his shots. Post the first 6, he's looked to rotate the strike more and try and play a longer innings. Uh, so I think maybe that series against New Zealand, he's realized something and something's happened internally in his head, or maybe he's spoken to someone or something. And there is a change in how he's approached these few innings that he's batted. So, yeah, I mean, listen, he's been around for a while. I think 2013 he played his first IPL. So, what? It's going to be 13 seasons in the IPL, right? So, unfortunately, like you said, a lot of people don't know of him, but they should know of him. They should have known of him before these 3 innings because he's been playing for India for 10 years as well. So, yeah, there's something that has happened post that New Zealand series, which has turned things around for him.
He's played, I'm just very quick about how much he's played. He's played 16 one-day internationals. He's played 62 T20s. That's not stacks of cricket, is it? When he's,
No.
He's not stacks of international cricket. When you think of the amount some players have racked up over the years, for somebody who's had a career. I mean, I think one of the points about today is the 11 players that turned out for India, you never take that away. That is set in stone forever, isn't it, for them today? That they have won a World Cup, and they'll be remembered for however long people celebrate the things, and for Sanju Samson to come out, play the innings again, third in a row, be the leading 6 hitter in the tournament, to be the player of the tournament as well. That is kind of like the crowning glory of your career. Whatever you do from here, you've done it. You've done it once.
And
what does it mean?
Sorry.
You carry on.
Yeah. So my only, I hope, I honestly hope, because every time I see Sanju score a big or plays a big innings, I hope he's turned a page here. But with back-to-back 3 innings, I'm quite sure he's turned a page here. And this is what I've been wanting to see of Sanju Samson for the last 10 years.
He's only 31. He's still got. He's still got time.
Yeah, he's still got another 5-6 years. He keeps his fitness going, surely.
And he's keeping wicket as well, of course. I mean, he's like Joss Buttler, isn't he? He's keeping wicket as well as opening the batting. So, a key man for India going forward. And as you say, Simon, winning the tournament at home, defending their tournament as well, because they won it the last time. So that's the first time it's ever been done. The only good thing to say about New Zealand, I suppose, today is nothing to do with this match. It's to do with that guy that took 5 wickets in 5 balls for the first time in cricket history. Trent Randall playing for Central Districts.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's another one of those things, isn't it? When you've done that, you've done it. Well, no one can ever take that away from you, can you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
my great mate from Middlesex days, Kevin James, who we always knew, he was an all-rounder for Middlesex, and he then moved to Hampshire, and he was always known as Spikes. Because he was so far up the coach's backside and the captain's backside that you could only see the bottom of his spikes. And so he was known as Spikes. And he had a bit of a pretty ordinary career with Middlesex, didn't get much opportunity, did a little bit better with Hampshire, but he was sort of up and down the order, and sometimes his bowling didn't work and all that. But he was a decent all-rounder. And then one day against India, In
Yeah.
1996, I think it was, on a tour match between Hampshire and India, he took 4 wickets in 4 balls and scored 100 in the same match,
Wow.
and that's never been done before.
Yeah.
But at least the 4 in 4 had been done before. But now we've got 5 in 5. I mean, it wasn't actually in the same over, was it? It was the last ball of one over and the first 4 balls of his next over. But still, and he finished up 7 for 25. I mean, he definitely wanted to be doing a lottery ticket that night, wouldn't you?
He took 6 and 8 as well. The
Yeah.
closest I've ever seen to something like that happening was in that famous semi-final in 1977 when Mike Proctor took 4 in 5 balls, including Barry Richards and Gordon Greenwich, and it should have been 5 in 6 because the umpire, I'm just trying to hear, well, it might have been Tom Spencer. The umpire, Tom Spencer, refused to give out on the next delivery, refused to give out the plumbest LBW. He was like, I've given you loads, I can't give you another one.
Yeah.
It was one of those. It would have been 5 in 6. Absolutely dead, the 6th ball of the over as well. Anyway, so Brett not a great day for New Zealand bowlers, apart from Brett Randall. A few of them went around the park today. But should we just celebrate the leading run scorer, leading wicket taker? So leading run scorer was Farhan. Sanju Samson was second. Sanju hit the most sixes. Bumrah and Chakravarti, both with 14 wickets, the leading wicket taker in this tournament. Chakravarti actually didn't feel as though he had that good a tournament, did he? Because he went around the park a little bit, perhaps suffered from the flat pitches in the later on semi-final and final. His runs per over was differential between him and Bumrah, but about 3 per over.
Yeah.
And a lot of him kind of like looking behind him to see where the ball was disappearing. But anyway, look, wicket taker. He is a World Cup winner. He'll have better days. And perhaps we should one thing we should talk about the pitches that were produced. So how did India? What happened against South Africa? How did they turn it around and do so well in those 3 big knockout games where they chased runs against West Indies last Sunday? They made a big score against India, and they made a big score against England, I should say, and they made a big score against New Zealand today. What was it? How do you get that variation from a side that is so talented? Because they were South Africa, they kind of went nowhere, did they?
Yeah, I think got to give credit to the backroom staff here, Gotham and the support staff, because till the South Africa game, it was a very different Indian side. It seemed like they felt the pressure of coming into this tournament as favorites, as firm favorites, and also trying. They didn't actually play the brand of cricket that they've been playing for last couple of years, like that fearless, playing with freedom. It just felt like they felt the burden a little bit, the pressure. And then post that, the fascinating bit is it's very easy for anyone or people like myself to say, oh, fearless cricket. But if you're playing a knockout game of the World Cup, it is very difficult because the first reaction is, let's not make a mistake here. Like it's in any sport, right? A football World Cup, knockout game. It's a very cagey affair. But then to go out there in these last 3 games and bat with that kind of freedom, and that was refreshing. That's the brand of cricket that India has been playing last couple of years. That has brought India so much of success. But I personally thought the first half of the tournament, I don't think India were playing that brand of cricket. For some reason, they looked shackled in the first half. And I think something must have happened in that dressing room. I would like to believe Gotham must have spoken to them, or someone in that support staff must have spoken to them. They look like a different team in these last 3 games.
Does it matter what pitch India play their T20 cricket on?
It does matter. Sorry, it does matter because the brand of cricket that India is playing would need a good batting surface. Now, so this I honestly believe when I look through the whole World Cup, I think it was a conscious effort to to provide bowling friendly pitches in the first half during the league phases, because the moment you give batting friendly pitches, then the difference between two sides becomes very, very prominent, and it's magnified and amplified, right? Because of the associate nations and the top nations playing and all of that, I think there was a conscious effort to prepare a rather low scoring or bowling friendly pitches. But if you leave aside the games in Sri Lanka, because the nature of the pitches in Sri Lanka are like that. But I think when you look at the Indian pitches in the Super 8s, all of them were good to bat on that phase onwards. So I think that was a conscious effort to kind of have these two different set of pitches or different kinds of pitches for different phases, as far as the pitches are concerned.
It's an interesting thing. I thought it. I mean, I thought more of it in the. I mean, edit this, but I thought definitely more in the semi-finals and final. I mean, the pitches in Mumbai in this service was very good, wasn't it? And they had scoreboard pressure today. Using them.
So poor old New Zealand. That's the 5th final that they've lost. Now played in 6 and lost 5 and won, of course, the World Test Championship in 2021. I mean, it was a brave effort, wasn't it? They were never going to get 255, but they had a go, and they just lost too many wickets. The Indian bowling is very good. I thought Akshar Patel's been a good star for them. India, hasn't he? He's caught well.
Yeah.
He's got sort of bucket-like hands, and he's come up with some clever changes of pace and so on. He's in my fantasy team, thank God. So he's done well. I thought Arshdeep Singh also bowled well today.
Yeah.
Good control. One or two of the younger players are certainly proving their weight. I mean, New Zealand, what do we think? They just sort of, were they the right finalists? Actually, would it have been a better game if it had been South Africa in the final?
Ooh. I mean, I personally think South Africa, India would have been ideally the best final, because I think these two are the best T20 sides in the world right now. And it would have been, could have been a very different story. But then, but what do you say? I mean, the format's like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's on the day semi-final they lost, didn't they? Yeah. I mean, we all thought it was going to be a South Africa-India final. We thought they were the two best, and it may have been a closer game. But New Zealand absolutely pumped them in that semi-final. There was an absolute hammering. The good news is for South Africa is it isn't too long before they get to play New Zealand again in T20s, because there's a 5-match T20 series starting at Mount Maunganui next Sunday. It's incredible, isn't it? We just had the T20 World Cup, but then suddenly there's another series just down the line. That's it.
That means a lot more sixes, maybe less sixes in Mount Maunganui than at the Wankhede Stadium. Over the tournament as a whole, 55 matches, 780 sixes. So that's about 14 sixes on average per game, nearly 1,500 boundaries. Incredible. I mean, batting dominance par excellence. We've never seen it before. In our own fantasy teams, we all picked an 11 we thought would do well from different countries at the start of the tournament, come out on top with a score of just under 2,000 points. Your star performers, Ishan Kishan was a good shout. He's come through pretty well. Obviously, Bumrah, Hardik, they all had good tournaments. You haven't really had a bad one, actually. Abra Ahmed did okay, but obviously Pakistan got excluded in the end. So you got just over 2,000. Simon, you came in at about 1,750, 1,800. Who was your success? You had Ishan Kishan as well. You had
It was more my failures.
Your failures were the Mujib and Rashid Khan, because they got knocked out.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't have picked them. And I came runner up with about 1,900. I luckily had Finn Allen. Otherwise, I'd have been plummeting into the bottom. I'd have been seeking re-election. But my Finn Allen call at least performed well. I needed him to get about 180 today to overtake you, Deep. But sadly, he only got 9. So congratulations. The trophy's in the post to you. All right.
Oh, no, lovely. That's nice.
The most important prediction that mattered most was the fact that we all tipped India to win, and
Yeah.
and they did, and they're going to do it all again in October, November 2028. So a couple of years, and we'll be at it again for a T20, a World Cup T20
Yeah.
Australian, but not before the 50 over World Cup next year. They roll around pretty quickly, don't they?
Well, I suppose it's almost like American sport now, isn't it? It's the World Series baseball every year, isn't it? So it's almost a bit similar to that. Listen, anyway, we've talked enough. It was brilliant to watch anyway, and congratulations to India. Deep, a glass of something in your honour tonight on behalf of your teammates and former teammates. And well, that's it. Lots more cricket to come. Actually, it's the next thing probably on this site will be discussing the 100 auction, which is next week.
Next weekend.
So we'll have a look at that. I mean, we're not going to give you it blow by blow, but we'll probably have a look at who were the picks and who were the not picks for the 100 auction, which is next week. And obviously, the county championship starts in a month as well.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it at the moment, actually, isn't it? But it was still pretty cold and wet outside. We had a nice day last week, but yeah, county cricket going in early April. So under a month to the start of the season. There's no let up, is there, in the cricket calendar? It keeps on going.
Yeah. So, listen, thanks everybody for their contributions. Thanks, Deep, for your time and thoughts. Thank you to Zubin, actually, for his very extensive text messaging as well about Sanju Samson. You can, of course, watch this on YouTube. I've mentioned that before as well. And we'll be back later in the week, Simon, won't we?
We will indeed. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Goodbye for now.